Let's start off. I like to go hunting. I kind of call it a vinyl treasure hunt. Do it a lot. And the one place I do it a lot is at this place. Oh, I just happen to have their bag here. Didn't even plan this. Look. The place is called 11th Street Records. It's on Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas. Go in there and they've got, you know, a little bit of new vinyl, but most of everything in there is the good old stuff in the bins you go through hunting and searching. What I like to do is spoken word, jazz, big band, kind of pop music from the 50s, 60s, 70s into the 80s. I'm not into, you know, anything metal or that aura or most of the new stuff today. So for me, it's a good treasure hunt because below their bins, you know, those big wood bins they have there, are cardboard boxes. And every aisle has them, one after another after another. I pull out an old metal chair, sit down, start thumbing through them, and I'm on my treasure hunt. God, do I get some good stuff. And most of it's only $1. $1. Let me show you what happened last time. Here, Chariots of Fire, Vangelis. Da 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 da, that one, right? $1. This guy is famous. He was from Germany, and he did a lot of MOR type music, happy stuff. And most of his stuff he do like usually a medley of 2 songs at a time. He was famous for that. Put on a great live show. PBS fans know him because he's done a number of concerts on PBS. James Last. Yeah, this is one of his albums. And here's another one, and it kind of tells about who he is, MOR, middle of the road music. That was the big thing we used to do back into the 60s and into the early 70s. And when I was at radio, that's the kind of music I always played. The stations I was at were MOR stations. If you grew up in LA, KMPC was a well-known MOR station. Jan and Dean, Surf City, the kids that went to school in West LA, yep, $1. This guy, I like his piano music. He had a ton of albums for RCA, Peter Nero. Let's just open this one. I haven't even looked at it. It's in living stereo. Here's the kind of quality you usually get. Pretty much mint. $1. $1. These guys were cool. Dave Clark 5, remember them? Yeah, Over and Over. Those hits, Bits and Pieces. You're a rock person from that era. Now here's the kind of stuff you find and you scratch your head and go, I just don't believe it. I was a huge fan of this show. I'm not religious. I didn't really watch for those reasons. I watched for showbiz reasons in the old days. And he's back again with another show, but and that would be Jim Baker and his lovely bride then, Tammy Faye. Here's the album called You're the Best. And I don't know what's on this, a lot of like religious songs and stuff. And this is from the days of the PTL Club. Yeah, it's still shrink wrapped. Yeah, brand new. Yeah, $1. And that's probably worth way more than it's worth. But this guy was huge in regards. Instrumentals were very big in the 50s into the early 60s. Dave Baby Cortez, remember? Oh yeah, he had a lot of big hits. The Happy Organ was a big one. And everybody needs a happy organ. These guys were Las Vegas for years at the Sahara Hotel. Start work at about 11, work till daybreak. And Sam Buterin, the Witnesses, backed him up for decades. Louis Prima, Keely Smith, hot married couple for decades. And she was kind of like a stoic comedy relief straight person. He was the crazy one. And people don't know about Louis. He was a great songwriter. One of the big songs he wrote is a huge big band jazz type classic. Benny Goodman made a hit way back when called Sing, Sing, Sing. This guy wrote it, Louis Prima. Yeah, $1. Here we go. Sold a lot of banjos after this movie came out, Dueling Banjos. Kid was not really a special needs kid. He was just kind of looked that way. He put a little extra makeup on him, and he faked playing the banjo. But this is obviously wonderful. Let's see what condition it's in. It's mint. It's actually on Capitol Records. Songs of the Humpback Whale. Hey, that's hitbound, huh? All these dollar stuff. This was in a weird case, but it's swing music. Van Alexander and his orchestra, believe it or not, this Capitol record in here is in mint condition. This guy was huge, Roger Williams. I don't know if he's still performing, but for up until the last few years, he would come over to one of the hotels in town, the Boyd Hotel. Which one was it? Not the South Point, the other one. Anyway, he would play in his little piano. Classic album. God. Now this one's a little tore up on the cover. Let's see inside and see what the quality of it is. Actually, it doesn't look all that bad. On the Verve label, the cat, Jimmy Smith. Jimmy on that Hammond organ. Oh man, he was a dynamite jazz guy. Huge people on this. Lalo Schifrin was the conductor, and on and on and on with all good people. Remember Gary Owen's great line on KMPC as he introduced the song from Lalo? He said, "There's a whole Lalo Schifrin going on." Gary was a funny dude. Martin Denny, $1, taste of his hits. Not that yummy, but it's $1. Here's one. You can get a little booklet with it. Yeah, color illustrated booklet. The one thing I hate in the world is this ride. Walt Disney, It's a Small World. Oh, God. So this is the album. You know what? They probably still sell it as a CD at the park. There it is. It's a Small World. Wait a minute. We're not done. This was just one trip down there. Those were all $1. Here's some more. I know, kind of crazy, right? Here one, Glenn Gray. He had a big band, the Casa Loma Group, Volume 2, Capitol album. Here's another one, Glenn Gray, Swingin' Decade. And this has a lot of hit songs from other guys like Midnight Sun, Harlem Nocturne, and he plays a like cover of that for $1. This guy was an instrumentalist. Not the most dynamic guy in the world, but boy, he sold a lot of records. From Nashville, Floyd Kramer. One of his biggest one was Last Date. And once again, an instrumental guy. This guy lived about a mile from me, maybe half a mile back in the old days when I was a little kid in the San Fernando Valley. I used to see him knocking a tennis ball against his garage door on Saturday mornings before his buddy would pick him up and take him up to the college to play a set of tennis. Then he had Moon River and disappeared. Went to Beverly Hills. Henry Mancini. Good album there for $1. Talk about elevator music, the king of it, Mr. Mantovani from Europe, England. He just had a million middle-of-the-road elevator songs. And by the way, here's another one, Mantovani Magic for $1. This guy saved the world. That's right. When the Martians were attacking, we had to fall back on Slim Whitman. $1. And this is the actual thing from mailing in on television. You know, all the ads were there, remember, because everybody would get them. Let's see the quality of this. Everyone looked at it. Open it up. This is like hardly ever been played. So you can listen to yodels all night long with Slim Whitman. And how much did it cost me? You got it. $1. At 11th Street Records, if you're ever here in Las Vegas, recommend that. You can find it at your local record store. A lot of people complain, oh, vinyl's so expensive. Get to know the people there and then say, hey, you got any good stuff somewhere I can look through? And many times they'll let you do it. Here's one, the album cover is a little shot, but the record's in need of a little work. But still, for $1, it's worth it just to look at her. Julie London. And she was married to Bobby Troup, the guy that wrote Route 66. Previously, she'd been married to Jack Webb from Dragnet. And she worked on Jack's show Emergency. Years after they were divorced, he cast her as the nurse. And she made a lot of money on that and brought her husband along. Bobby Troup was the doctor. Dr. Chicago. Yes, Dr. Zhivago. A long, I thought, very boring movie. These were the kind of movies that they did road shows where you would go into a big theater, it would play there for a year or more, and you get tickets just like at a legitimate theater. Sit and watch. Sound of Music was like that. Dr. Zhivago. That was the old days when the big blockbuster films were put out. And this is the original soundtrack. Maurice Jarre, who actually is a very great composer and arranger. This guy's real name is Lavecchio. The reason I know that, I hung out with his his little nephew way back when I was a kid in LA. His name is Frankie Lavecchio, Frankie Lane. Guy that did the Rawhide theme. This is a cool album. These were actually on-air broadcasts. They were cleaned up and put on an album, stereo electronically reprocessed, but on RCA. Glenn Miller, $1. I'm not done. I still have one more pack here. And this was all at one time and down there. Another middle-of-the-road guy, German, very cool, thematic type middle-of-the-road, Bert Kaempfert. And that was one of his albums. This guy was huge. He had like, I think 11 or 12 kids, and I guess that's why he worked all the time. He needed to make the bucks, but he was on everything in the 60s. Al Hirt, remember him? The trumpet player. He had a good personality and could really blow a horn. This was a famous series that RCA had called Our Man In, and I don't know if they had Our Woman In. They should have back then, but they had different thematic cities and everything. And this was Our Man in New Orleans, Al Hirt, RCA. Yep. This lady, God, she did jingle packages, commercials, and of course had a famous singing group. Wrote her a letter once and sent me back a 2-page response from Switzerland where she was retired. She was originally from the South, Nashville area, and her name, Anita Kerr. Lovely voice. Oh, and this is Anita Kerr Singers. And it's kind of soapy, kind of, you know, very slow, but very methodical, melodic, and lots of great harmony. And her lead voice is superb. Believe it or not, it was produced by Chet Atkins way back when. This is an old album. And it doesn't even show the date, but had to have been in the late 50s. Here's another guy that did a lot of middle-of-the-road, big-time arranger in Hollywood, and everybody that played records back in the 60s knew this guy. He recorded for Dot Records. Billy Vaughn. Billy Vaughn was huge. I had this album. I don't know if I still had it, but I got it back up. To me, it's like music you'd hear at a roller rink way back when. Lenny D. Actually, some of it was kind of cool, and he did MOR backup stuff. This guy, a famous jazz big band dude, and these are all his big hits. The big one, Woodchopper Ball, and lots of other good ones. And this, of course, is the famous Woody Herman and his Thunder and Herd. Yeah, and this is on Capitol. And that's the old Capitol Records building, still there in Hollywood. Most people didn't know that that light up there spelled out, I think it was Hollywood in Morse code. I don't know if they still do that, but the round building that's been there forever, and it's just an iconic thing. When you ever get to LA, you gotta take a look at it. Capitol Records. This guy's daughter has a big website in LA now about the old days of LA, and this was her dad. She talks about him all the time. A mint album from the singer Al Martino. And last one I have here, no particular order, at a place I went to a number of times. I didn't see a lot of classical stuff there, but I saw the Tijuana Brass. I actually saw the Ringling Brothers Circus at this place. Yeah, way back when, the Hollywood Bowl, 1812 Overture, and some other stuff by Felix Slatkin, who was also a famous arranger back in the day. All right, there you go. All of that from 11th Street Records. Went down there on my vinyl treasure hunt. $1 each. All of that was 37 bucks and change. 37 bucks and change. Yeah, admittedly, not all of it is jewels when it comes to vinyl, but it's fun. I like listening to it. I'll pop on Slim Whitman one time in my life and kind of yodel along. I think you would too. So what I'm saying is, if you are into vinyl, you know about it. If you're not, you need to take it and check it out, because you can buy very inexpensive turntables today. They're actually good enough quality, they won't destroy the record. And I'm talking like 50, 60 bucks with the speakers in it and everything else. And then of course you can get up and buy turntables that cost $25,000 if you're a nut. And there's a lot of those out there. I'm lucky. I recently got a Macintosh system from 1974, the preamp and the amp. And that set me back a whole bunch of money. You know, some very wonderful speakers, but that's the joy I get listening to vinyl. And I have other playback units here. Back here is a Marantz unit, bookshelf thing. It seems to be like some of the older stuff you can get fairly good buys on if you look around. Some people just jump and they pay way too much money, just like the vinyl. Look around, you'll find it. Lots of treasures out there for you. Good hunting.